Life is full of twists and turns, and no one really knows what the next day holds. No one knows when it's their time to go. No one knows when literally a hurricane or a natural disaster is going to happen and you lose everything. Just so many curveballs could be thrown at you at any moment, and you have to be able to maneuver through that. And what really truly helps people to maneuver through hard times is a strong foundation that one can fall back on. I'm not talking monetarily. I'm not talking about a family member there to support you, because everybody doesn't have those things. But I am talking about a strong foundation spiritually, because we are not just humans. There's something inside of us powering this skin bag that we're in. And I know for a fact that if I didn't have a strong foundation, I wouldn't have been able to get through what I experienced in 2020.
Nobody's gotta figure it out as far as I can see. I just gotta trust my process.
Peace, you guys. It's your girl Jade, a premium source of inspiration. Thank you so much for coming back and tuning into my YouTube channel. I'm so glad to see you here. Here on my channel, I make videos about my lifestyle. I'm a boy mom of 2 beautiful boys. I'm a wife. I am a naturalista, as you can tell. I love my natural hair, and I like to keep things as natural as possible for me and my family, whether it's clothes, food, hair, all of the above. I'm a God-fearing woman, and I love the Lord above all things. And it's so much I love, so much. I am a multifaceted being. So you being here, watching my videos, you'll get a little taste of everything. You'll just get to see a peek into my lifestyle from so many different angles. So let's get into today's video. Today's video is just a small part of my overall large testimony. The Lord always guides and protects me, and I'm grateful for that. In 2020, I found myself homeless in a situation where I thought I would never be in. But through it all, the Lord was with me. And I just want to share this with you guys, because you never know who is going through what, and how me sharing this small part of my testimony will help out another person. So let's get into it. In 2020, and this is just a small piece of the testimony. If I told you the whole thing, this would need to be like multiple videos. But let's get straight into it, to the homeless part. I was living with an older woman when COVID popped off. And it got to the point when everyone was first wearing the masks and staying 3 feet away from each other and all of that stuff. The woman that I was renting the room from, she didn't even want to stand in the same room as me. She was very paranoid. You know, she didn't want to stand next to me or anything like that. And I just remember that her spiritually, my beliefs irritated her in some type of way. Those who know. Those who know that they're followers of Christ and they have experiences where what they believe and their energy, it really can irritate non-believers. Or if someone has, spirits inside of them, a combative spirit that is against Christ, it can irritate those demons within the person. I remember one time I was at her house and I was on the phone and I was talking to someone on the phone about the Lord, about Jesus, just a regular old conversation. And the woman just came in my vicinity while I was on the phone, and she said, our people, we were down in Egypt or something like that. And she just tried to pretty much make whatever I was saying seem like it was insignificant or like it wasn't true. You know, she tried to slide in the Egyptian agenda. Now, I'm just going to give you guys some small details of the overall story so we can get to the meat of it all. I was homeless starting from Easter Monday 2020. And then I ended up not being homeless anymore. I ended up finding a room for rent. It was after July. I know it was after July because I remember being in my tent hearing fireworks and my dog was scared. He was so scared. And I'm like, that was a whole thing within itself. And I literally had to hold him or he was going to run outside the tent and try to find, you know, a house to go to. So let's see. April, and we have May, June, July. From April to July, I was literally living outside. Now, just to get straight into the story, I live with an older woman. Pretty much she treated somebody really rude and disrespectful. And I said something to her about it. And she didn't like that I even said anything about how she treated this other individual. So it pissed her off to the point where she was like, well, when can you go? It's time for you to go, baby girl. And I said, I can be gone today. I was only renting a room in her house. So I ended up moving all of my stuff out of the woman's house in shopping carts. And I moved to a field that was visible from her house. Like if her house was right here on the corner, she had a corner house. And it was a street, a small street. Then it was like an open field. Then it was a plot of land that was hedged in. It had hedges all around it, as if a house should have been there. But it was no house back there. It was just an empty plot of land enclosed with hedges. And that's where I put up a tent and I stayed. Now, it's just so funny how the whole thing happened. And to tell the story is so surreal because I feel like I want to give you guys all of the details. But if I try to give you all of the details, this video would be so long. So the gist of it was she could see where I set up at from her house. And when I moved my stuff to that empty field, I called it my garden because I actually was planting some things back there like beans because I had just got into planting. I just wanted to be involved with the soil and seeing if I could grow my own food, just trying it out. I didn't have anything to work with. I bought some beans from the market that I was obviously going to cook. And I did cook the beans, but I saved a couple of the dried beans to plant in the ground just to see what would happen. And they grew. I had black-eyed peas, I had black beans, and I had one other kind of bean. Was it pinto? I can't really remember right now. But I had just a couple small things growing back there, and it wasn't large plots. It was just like a couple holes in the ground, something really easy and really simple. So I didn't have anywhere to go when she decided to just put me out so quickly. My family is in Baltimore, and you know, I have friends in Atlanta, but I'm not the type of person to be like, can I stay with you? You know? So, and I feel like this whole thing was a test for me. So if I never went through this situation, being homeless, then I wouldn't have grown so much in the Lord, because I grew so much. So basically, the first thing I knew, right? Let's start from the beginning, before I even put up the tent. My stuff was back there in an open field, uncovered. I don't know what I'm gonna do. No one really knows my stuff is back there because it's hedged in. So I'm good. The only people who know is a couple people from the neighborhood who helped me move my stuff back there in shopping carts. I'm like, okay, I'm gonna need a tent. Alright? I'm gonna need a tent. I knew somebody who had a tent, but it wasn't a real tent. It was one of those tents that's mesh on the side and see-through, kind of one of the tents that you would put food in for a banquet if you're outside, so mosquitoes and stuff won't get to the food. So it was a mesh tent. I asked them could I have the tent because they hadn't returned it back to Walmart. They were supposed to return it, but they didn't. I said, can I have that tent that you're not using? So I didn't tell them my situation. I just asked for the tent and they gave it to me. I brought the tent back there. Then I said, if it rains or something, because it was rainy season. I became homeless on Easter Monday, 2020. I said, I'm gonna need some type of solid ground, some type of floor, because otherwise my stuff is gonna get wet, or my feet is gonna get wet when it rains and stuff. I had seen a brother in the neighborhood who was selling wood, right? I went to him. I knocked on his door. I never knew him, never met him before this day. And I said, hey, my name is, I noticed that you had some wood. Do you have any extra flat pieces of wood that you don't need? And he provided it to me. He gave it to me. So grateful. I went and I put that wood down. And it's like the Lord was guiding me as to what to do, because I had no idea what to do. I'm walking through the neighborhood and I just happen to see some tiles, some ceramic tiles that will go on the floor of a restaurant or on the floor of the bathroom. They're ceramic tiles. I noticed that it was trash. It was, all dusty and, nobody wasn't worried about this. It was in the back space of a restaurant, just on the ground. I got the ceramic tiles, brought them back to where I was in the open field, put the tiles on top of the wood. Then I had a carpet that someone gave me. It was like a really thick, nice, antique looking carpet. Put it right down on top of the wood and the tiles. And just like that, I had a floor, like the floor of a bedroom inside of my tent. And when it rained, I was good. My stuff didn't get wet. I was good, okay? The mesh part on the sides of the tent, I didn't even know how to put up the tent. Around where I was staying, it was a lot of women who walked the streets, if you know what I mean. And one of them I knew because I would help her out. And I knew everyone in the neighborhood. I helped out everybody, whether it be with food, with clothes, etc. So she knew how to put up a tent. So she literally, her and whatever guy she was with, they put my tent up for me. That was a blessing. After the tent was up and I loaded my stuff in there with my floor and all of that, I took the sides, I took fabric that I had, extra fabric. I sewed it on the sides of the tent so no one could see in, so I could be warm. And that worked. That worked. So it's just amazing how I went about it. Now that I think about it, I'm just really resourceful. But there are people out living on the streets now that they just wouldn't think to do this. And some people do. Some people do think to do that. People have whole houses out living on the street. They have tents. They got things set up so they're comfortable. And some people don't. Some people are just out on the streets and their mind is gone. And I do think that what preserved me was the Lord. But I don't think I know it for sure. I know it for sure. Because, wow, when I was out there for those 3 months, nobody even came in the vicinity of where I was. I told you, I was in a yard that was hedged in. Someone could have snuck back there and went in my tent and stole all of my stuff. That didn't happen to me. Someone could have come back there and raped me or something. That didn't happen to me. Like, people knew I was back there. People from the neighborhood, the street walkers, the people addicted to drugs, the people that people looked down upon, but I saw them as people. Everyone got their problems, but I knew them. I would help them out all the time. So it got to the point where I'm not going to say that they were necessarily my friends, but I saw them as people, my community. So if anybody was looking out for me while I was back there, it was them. And then they knew my energy, because one thing that I know that really helped me, I love to do art, I love to paint. And of course, all my stuff being back there, I had art supplies, I had paints and stuff. I would find large pieces of wood around the neighborhood, and I would paint the wood, and I would paint Bible verses on the wood. The wood would be as tall as me, and I would paint different Bible verses on the wood, and I posted the giant pieces of wood around the area where I was, so when people walked past my location, they would read those verses, and I know it did something for them spiritually, because people would be so glad to see me, so glad to stop and read what I wrote for them. It filled them with joy, and it inspired them. It doesn't matter what they were going through, if they were on drugs, and they would stop and they would read that, and it meant something to those people. And it meant something to me, because that's the only thing that was protecting me. Things could have went wrong for me so many times, but they didn't. I had food to eat. I didn't have to beg for money. I didn't have to sell my body for no money. Money came to me easily. There was a corner store in the neighborhood that I would be at every day. I had previously talked to, the person who was running the store, and I asked them, would you like to have, but this was before I was homeless. I asked the person, would you like to have more products in the store? It wasn't a lot of stuff on the shelves. It was just like a little phony corner store who had candy and things like that. And all the rest of the shelves were empty. And I'm like, this store could be so much more in this community. So I was in the store all the time, just trying to find ways to make it better. I talked to the owner, and at first he wasn't trying to hear me. He wasn't trying to have extra things inside the store, but God made a way, and I ended up being in the store 24/7, putting my stuff on the shelves. And I actually found a young lady who made her own shampoo from natural ingredients, body wash and shampoo. And I introduced her to the owner of the store, and he started purchasing her products, and we ended up having some of her products at the store as well, right? Because of this young lady. And I had no idea that this would happen. This is how I became unhomeless. This is how I found an actual job that I was able to collect enough money from to find a room for rent. Just because I was being kind to a person that I didn't even know, trying to spread awareness about her product, which I really liked. Her product really works. She ended up knowing a man who could help find people jobs. And she was like, yeah, he right around the corner. You should go talk to him. His name is da-da-da-da-da. And I was diligent. I went to go talk to the man, and he worked with a nonprofit. He had a nonprofit himself, but he also worked with another nonprofit, and they needed people to work because obviously in 2020, everyone knows what happened in 2020. And this nonprofit was doing food distribution, and they needed people to, unload the trucks, make food bags for the community, and pass them out. It was paying $20 an hour. I was already helping out the community. This is something that I did on the regular. So me getting paid to do it was just another bonus. So that's how I ended up finding a job and being able to save enough money to get a room for rent, because things did get hard when I was homeless, because I started wondering, like, how long was this going to be for? I didn't have an actual job because of what happened in 2020. And I remember I was at the corner store one day. I used to sit outside and play my drum. I had a timer drum that I would play for the people. And sometimes people would come by and give me tips. I never asked for money. I didn't have out a tip jar. People would just come by and give me money. So anyway, I was playing my drum, and people had gave me some tips or whatever. And I remember someone had stole my wallet some type of way. I don't know what I was doing, where they were close to me and they stole my wallet, and my wallet had my ID in it and everything. Had my little bit of money. I didn't have that much, but that experience really shook me, because I'm like, man, now I don't have an ID. Kind of need that. It's kind of important. And that was really what made me nervous, because I didn't know how long I'll be out on the streets. So I remember going home, or going back to my tent, but it felt like home. And that night, I know I was crying that night. And I was like, I don't know how long I'll be in this situation. I really don't know what to do, or where I'm going to go from here, or how I'm going to turn this all around. But somehow the Lord, He worked. And I ended up finding a man. The woman who had the shampoo, who made her own shampoo, told me about the man who could get people jobs. I went to go talk to him, and literally he got me an interview the next day. And the rest is history. The rest is history. I worked for that nonprofit for over a year, making $20 an hour, the most money I ever made. And I was able not only to find myself a room for rent, but eventually I ended up getting my own apartment. And that's a whole nother story. And in case anyone wants receipts for this short testimony, I have a music video. It's called Gotta Keep My Focus. It's out on YouTube. In that video, I'm living in the rooming house that I rented a room in after I was homeless, right? In the video, I go back to where the location I was living, where I was homeless, and the floor is still standing from where my tent was. So I'm rapping in my music video, standing on the floor of my tent. The tent was gone, but obviously the wood and the tiles were still there. So that's a receipt. And behind me, you'll see life-size Bible verses that I painted when I was homeless for 3 months. So much has happened in that time that I couldn't even discuss in this video, because I don't want this video to be like freaking 4 hours long. But God is real, and no matter what trials and tribulations that you go through, He will be with you every step of the way to protect you, to guide you. And of course, we must go through trials and tribulations in order for us to grow spiritually. They must happen. Some people might say, why would God let this happen to you? Or why didn't He, do this or do that? Or why you had to be homeless for a whole entire 3 months? None of that matters, because life happens. And if bad things don't happen to you, it's not even a bad thing. If things don't happen, experiences like this, if they don't happen to you, for you to have a story to tell, a testimony, for you to become stronger or just grow, or to see how resourceful you are, how can you use your mind and your resources. If things like this don't happen, then no one will grow. Everyone will stay in the same position that they were born in. I would still be a baby spiritually. You know, it's painful for babies to get their teeth. When that bone is pushing through the gums, that's a very painful. But the baby has to go through it in order for him to develop. And I had to go through the situation where I was homeless in order for me to develop spiritually. Because now a person couldn't tell me nothing. I could have $0 in my bank account and I will be fine, because I know that God will make a way. We have to walk by faith and not by sight. And me going through that experience, it helped me to literally have faith in God 100%, because I didn't know what was going to happen to me next. I had no idea. And literally I could go on for days with my testimony, because that's just one part of it. I went through rigorous tests all 2020. From the end of 2019 all through 2020, I went through rigorous tests. And I came out on top. I lost all that I had, everything. While I was in that corner store and COVID happened and I didn't have any money, I had a storage with so much in there because I used to be a model. I had heels on heels on heels, purses, clothes, makeup. I had all of the works and I had it in my storage. And I ended up going back and forth to the storage and putting all my stuff in that corner store that was in the neighborhood. I would put all my stuff in there and sell it, because I had no use for the heels and whatnot. I was homeless. I wasn't doing no modeling. I sold my stuff. And that's one of the ways I did get money. You know, and that's fine with me. It's just material items. I could get it back, which I did. After I sold basically everything that I had, God still was providing for me. He found a way for me to get free clothes. No one knew I was homeless. I always had on new clothes. That's a whole other story within itself. How I found a person who had like a warehouse full of clothes, and I would just get clothes on clothes. And I would fill up a suitcase and bring clothes back to the neighborhood and give it out for free to the street walkers or to anyone who might need them. God provides. God provides. And He definitely gives us the resources. He gives us the resources to thrive in any situation. The most valuable thing that you have is your spirit. That's your connection to the Most High. And your mind. Your mind. You know more than you think you do. And whatever you know, you need to utilize the skills that you have, the knowledge that you have, to get yourself to the next level. As long as you have God, and God provides wisdom. So you might have earthly knowledge, but that wisdom with the earthly knowledge, that's a game changer. Combining the wisdom with the earthly knowledge. So, you know, I don't want to make this video super long, so I'm going to end it right there. That's just a small part of my testimony. I was homeless for 3 months in Atlanta, Georgia, in the city. I wasn't in no county. I wasn't far away. I was in the city, in the neighborhood, Ashby. If you know, you know. And I survived with my dignity, with my morals, with God. No one else could do it. No one else could do that. Tell me who else you know could survive a situation like that without the Lord. Nobody. Thank you so much for tuning into my channel. I hope this testimony, this small piece of my testimony, has touched you in some type of way. If you want to know more, drop a comment below and just maybe I'll share the rest of it. But let me tell you, I got stories on stories on stories. So just know God is real. Seek Him. Seek and you will find. But you got to be pure in heart, and He will reveal Himself to you in many ways. You might not be able to see it physically, but things will start happening. Things that are unexplainable. You'll be in situations and you get out. You get out of the situation, you don't even know how you got out. You'll be in a position, you don't even know how you got in that position. You're not even qualified to be there. But you're there because God put you there. So just seek God and have a blessed day. Always put Him first. Peace.